Hello, good evening to those of you that are already online with us. You're joining Chase Buchanan's webinar regarding financial planning for expats, navigating France and beyond. I'm just going to give it a minute or so to allow a few people to organise their devices and get online with us. So the camera and mic's going to go quiet for just a moment and we'll get started properly in about a minute's time. See you soon. Hello, good evening. Right, an official welcome to you all now. Thank you for joining us this evening. You're on with Chase Buchanan. We are going to chat through with you financial planning for expats, specifically navigating France and beyond. We've allocated about an hour or so for this evening. Generally, we find that we'll probably be online for 45 minutes, something in that order. And what I'll do, I'll just take a moment to talk you through the format of what we are looking to do with you. So in a few moments, I've got a video for you that I've pre-recorded. It tells you a little bit about Chase Buchanan. It tells you a little bit about me. But more importantly, it gives you some background detail around financial planning for the jurisdiction of France. Hopefully, you will see down the bottom right of your screen, you've got a questions box. So throughout the course of the webinar this evening, please feel free to put your questions in there. Once they'll be coming through as the video plays. Once we've got to the end of that video, we will work through some of those questions and we'll get through as many as we can. Just to elaborate a little bit on some of what you will see in the video, I'll give you a little bit of an insight into Chase Buchanan for some of you that perhaps don't know us particularly well. So Chase Buchanan, we are an independent, highly regulated financial advice business. We are predominantly engaged in your financial management, your wealth management, and your tax planning for those individuals that are looking to relocate. A lot of time from the UK, but not always. We are fully regulated out of Cyprus. Our head office is in Cyprus. And that gives us the full credentials to provide financial advice Europe-wide. We have numerous offices across Europe, and we are helping clients in around 30 different countries across the world right now. It's also worth noting, in recent months, we are the only globally focused expat business that have received accreditation as an international professional partner by the Chartered Insurance Institute. That's a very big accolade for us, one that we're really proud of, and it gives us gives our clients some insight and confidence into the quality of what we're doing for people. I personally, my name is Alex Simpson. It's going to be me that's with you throughout the duration of our time This evening, it's me on the video that you're going to see, and it's me that will be answering your questions throughout the course of the time we have tonight. Having said that, I am part of a wider team, so I am part of our France team. There are 4 Chase Buchanan advisors in the team. There is me, there's a gentleman called Malcolm, there's a lady called Tatiana, and there is another colleague of mine called Giuseppe. Worth mentioning Giuseppe in his own right. Giuseppe is in place specifically to help our US clients that may be looking to relocate to France, to Europe. So it's worth mentioning that. The video is going to be about 15 minutes or so, something like that. And while that's playing for you, I'll switch my camera off so you're not distracted by me in the corner. So without further ado, I will get that video up for you. Bear with you a moment, and we will play that.
Hi there. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Simpson. I'm a private wealth manager with Chase Buchanan. Like many of my clients, you've already taken the leap and made France your new home. It's incredibly exciting for you, but it can also be a bit of a minefield. You've done all the hard bit, relocating, but maybe you're now facing new questions. Things like, am I structured correctly for the French tax system? What do these social charges really mean? Is my UK pension working for me? Can I keep it? Do I need to change it? Should I have done things differently before I became a tax resident? You're not alone. Many people move with the best intentions, but find themselves playing catch up with the French system, whether that's tax, healthcare, property, investment, you name it. So this session is all really about getting ahead of those challenges, those difficulties, even if you've already made the move. I'll talk you through the real life journey of Adam and Michelle. They relocated from the UK, but with a focus on what they got right, what they needed to do differently, and what they learned along the way. We'll cover a number of things during this. How to align your finances with French tax law, the realities of healthcare, visas, owning property here in France, what you can do now to protect your wealth, and also simplify your future. So a little bit more about me. I'm Alex Simpson. I'm a qualified financial advisor with over 25 years in financial services. I spent more than a decade running my own company in the UK, and now I live my life at Chase Buchanan as a private wealth manager, helping people just like you navigate the complexities of international finance, helping them move overseas and find confidence in their financial future. Moving country changes everything, from how your income is taxed to how your investments perform and to how you plan for retirement or protect your family. Outside of work, I'm married to Michelle. I'm a proud dad to 2 kids, 3 dogs, 4 cats. I'm a big believer in balance. Whether I'm running a marathon, very passionate about running, playing guitar, very passionate about that as well. But I'm passionate about getting your finances in order and helping you move on to the new chapter of your life. Let's get started. Let's start off with a story about a couple. They're clients of mine. They're now good friends. Adam and Michelle had always talked about retiring somewhere else, somewhere quieter, sunnier. We'd talk about for years, different dinners over holidays, particularly holidays in the south of France. Shared dream that became more serious each time the British winters seemed to kick in. Why France? It was the peace of mind that drew them in. Long lunches, village markets, the sense of community, but it was also practical. Michelle had some distant family ties there. They both spoke enough French to feel they could get by, integrate with people, enjoy life there. It felt familiar, enough for them to feel safe and to begin that adventure. So in 2024, they decided it was time to make the move. At that point, they were still in Wales, in the same house they'd lived in for 25 years. Their home wasn't just a place of memories. It was in many ways something they'd built together, something that they'd put money into, that they'd nurtured, that they'd built. It was difficult to sell that to begin a new life. In May, they put their house on the market. And that's when the real questions started arising. What to do with the money? Is there going to be tax to transfer that money? Can we still access our UK pensions? What happens to the healthcare? What do we do with things going forward? Adam had tried to piece things together. He'd been online himself. He'd read various bits and pieces. The more he read, the more confusing it got. And that's when he got in touch with us here at Chase Buchanan. From the beginning, it was about clarity. We helped them take a kind of scattered list of all these different things. Together, we created a timeline that started with the property sale, helped them prepare for the French visas process, mapped out exactly what we would do and when. The long stay visa applications was one of the first hurdles to overcome. It wasn't complicated, but it did require careful preparation, planning, bank statements, proof of income, various other bits of paperwork. But at Chase Buchanan, we helped ease them through that process to make sure they felt prepared and comfortable. They sold their home in the August. They made a really nice profit on it, £650,000. What we helped them do, we found them a trusted currency partner to get the most money they could from that transaction, from going to sterling over to euros. They bought a modest but absolutely fantastic home in France, quiet village near Toulouse, surrounded by vineyards, giving them the quiet and peace of mind they wanted. It wasn't just about the real estate though. It was about getting everything else in place, their healthcare, the estate planning, their investments, the little details that were on their mind in the background. At Chase Buchanan, what we did, we helped them open the right kind of bank account in France for their needs, set up private healthcare to support their visas. They created an estate plan that accounted for French inheritance tax laws that are very different from the UK, advised on tax planning so that their income from their investments would not only be reliable, but also efficient under French tax rules as well. Help make sense of the day-to-day issues, how to register for Social Security, what carte vitale is needed, how to get one, how to keep their UK driving licenses valid, even tips about moving their dog, Oscar his name is, across it over to New Life in France. By the time December came around, Adam and Michelle, they were no longer planning a move. They were unpacking boxes in their new house. They had a clear income plan, deriving €1,500 a month, under 2.5% of their residual investment amount. And with regular reviews, we can make sure we keep on top of that for them. Michelle later admitted there were moments when she doubted they could pull it off. She was worried about the paperwork side of things, unfamiliar systems, various other things going wrong. But she also said that every time they spoke with me, their advisor, they felt supported. Adam commented that the real thing wasn't the move itself, it was the feeling that for the first time in quite a few years, they could slow down. The noise was gone, the administration was handled, they're sat on their terrace in France with a glass of wine, thinking about what to cook for dinner instead of worrying about what tax they need to pay and think about. There's a lot to think about moving abroad, a lot to think about. It can be overwhelming. Sometimes you just need someone to guide you through it, someone who knows the landscape, what matters, what's important, the pitfalls, the advantages, and to be tax efficient. And for Adam and Michelle, we made a real difference to them. As I already mentioned, most people moving abroad, Adam and Michelle, for example, their UK home was their pension plan. So what they said, they need to ensure the money worked efficiently for them in France. There's a lot of key points around this. They had a nice lump sum to invest. Income tax in France is progressive, but it's based on the household, not the individual. Social charges you need to be aware of. Wealth tax is another consideration, but importantly, it doesn't kick in until your real estate value is at €1.3 million. In terms of timing the sale of your UK property, ideally do that before you become French tax resident. We've spoken about Adam and Michelle already. Another element of their story was with regard to their visas. They applied for a long stay visa, equivalent to a resident permit. Easy enough if you're prepared, and then came the property side of things. Long stay visas in France, they're valid for between 3 and 12 months. You review thereafter. Be aware of some of the property costs. 7% for an existing home, 2.5% for a new build property, and then there are annual property and occupier taxes to be wary of. Before you buy, a holiday is not the same as living there full time. So avoiding some of those pitfalls, holiday compared to living there. Adam and Michelle were kind of prepared enough to avoid some of those things. They planned well. They had bank accounts. They had health insurance, estate plans. We helped align their investment income to be tax efficient, sustainable for them. So some things to be mindful of. Get a French bank account open so that you can have your pensions income credited to that. Plan out your pensions and investments. If it's right to move them, then do that. Research and arrange health insurance. Little things like your pets, your dogs, your cats, your belongings. Arrange that in good time to make your move to France. Consider the difference in inheritance tax law. Will your wishes be adhered to once you're in that new jurisdiction? And register for both Social Security and apply for your carte vitale. So when Adam and Michelle arrived, they registered for their Social Security, got their Social Security numbers, they sorted out their carte vitale. The French system is world class, but can be very bureaucratic. So private health insurance may still be required. Carte vitale links all essential medical data. Obviously, with regard to Adam and Michelle, their investment needs were key to allow them to have the retirement they wanted. They invested 650,000, 775,000 euros, giving them 1,500 euros a month. Only a 2.5% withdrawal level, giving them plenty of headroom for growth on their investment as well as the income they need. So retirement income is not just about what pensions you've accumulated. With Adam and Michelle, it was about the wealth they'd built up from their property. Tax efficiency was a key. We've put that money into something appropriate that gives them a very tax efficient income with full planning behind it, regular reviews, so they can enjoy their retirement in France. So some common questions that we receive at Chase Buchanan. Can my UK advisor still advise me? No. Post-Brexit, they can't. You need someone suitably qualified. We have a license throughout Europe to help you in your new life and give you consistent advice going forward. If you come back to the UK or go elsewhere, we will continue to manage your assets, collaborate with you and look after you. If needed, we'll collaborate with one of our UK associates to help you in that transition if you move back to the UK. Estate planning, massive topic, particularly given the recent budget. France has a forced heirship model, but if you work with us, we can, where appropriate, help you navigate that by ensuring that UK succession law will still apply to you. If you call us here at Chase Buchanan, there's no obligation. We're looking to get to know you, understand you, work with you, see if we can help, see if we're on the same page. If our service is right for you, we'll take things forward. We'll be sending slides to you after the call, so don't worry about making any notes. But in terms of a checklist, some things to think about are tax planning, investment review, visa assistance, currency partner, healthcare registration, property purchase support, education, pets, driving, more things to think about. At Chase Buchanan, we want to work with you. We want a relationship. We're looking to look after you going forward for the years to come. We'll undertake quarterly reviews, provide on-demand advice. You'll receive a weekly email update from our Head of Investment Advisory, including regulatory reviews, impact guidance if something's changed in the market, in-person meetings wherever that is possible.
Hello, we're back. Hopefully you found that there was some useful information in there. During the course of that video, had quite a lot of questions from attendees. So there are some common themes there, and I'll work through those. One thing that I should have mentioned a little earlier, but didn't, all of you that are on call with us this evening, once we wrap up, you will receive a copy of the full presentation. So you can refer back to that, you can engage with us and follow up. And we will also be looking to chat with some of you on a personal level afterwards regarding some of the queries that you've got. If I'm looking over to the right a little bit, apologies, that's where the Q&As are. So we'll work through a few of those. There's two sort of common themes that it's probably worth me working through from the outset. So something that we often get asked is what it means to be a client of Chase Buchanan, how that works, and what we do. So it's very much a collaborative process. Essentially what we would do with you, we would have an initial meeting to understand your financial circumstances, what your priorities are, and how the solutions in the international space can meet your objectives. We get to know you by understanding fully your circumstances, but also your individual attitude to risk as well, so that we can put the right solutions together. Having had that initial meeting, got all the information from you that we need, we would then be in a position to put together a full financial plan for you, which we would usually communicate in writing by email for you to look through that. That will no doubt offer up a few other questions and queries, a follow-up call to run through that with you, and ultimately, if you are happy with what we're looking to do, then we will make it as straightforward as possible to establish that financial plan. You know, your Chase Buchanan advisor, along with our head office support from our UK administration centre, to get you on board as a client. That's really the start of the relationship, because as I alluded to in the pre-recorded video, we are looking to update you with regularity around the plans that you have with us. So 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 years down the line is what we've established right for you. So it's about a long-term relationship. So hopefully there's some useful detail there. Something else that we often get asked is around how we work with you to look after your wealth, to look after your money, whether that is in you know, the wrapper of a pension or a standalone investment, whatever it may be. So we take a very detailed approach to looking after your money. As I said a few moments ago, we want to make sure that we understand your own individual appetite to investment risk, so that we can look at the right spread of funds, the right spread of assets for you, so it's in line with what you're comfortable with. Supporting that, so supporting the work that I do and all the other Chase advisors do with our clients, we have an investment committee in the background. They are meeting with regularity, informally on a monthly basis, more formally on a quarterly basis. Heading up that investment committee is Lee Eldridge, the owner and founder of Chase Buchanan. There are other key people sat on that committee: Darren Fletcher, our head of global sales. And then we also have a couple of independent research functions that we use. So we use Mercer, which is a name that some of you may have heard. They're the biggest independent global consultancy worldwide. And we also use Morningstar. So together with them, that helps inform our decisions around which investment funds we're going to bring on board and put into our portfolios to offer to our clientele. And then it's about reviewing that. So the portfolio that we design for you on day one, will not necessarily look like that, 3, 6, 12 months, 2 years down the line. We're looking at evolving that in line with market conditions and other factors. So lots of questions down the right hand side here. So I will run through some of those. As I say, there are some common themes there, so it's worth touching on some of those. Quite a few questions around UK pensions. There's one here from, I don't know where it's gone, but I know what the question was. So someone has asked around being tax resident in France and their UK pension. There's a few things that we can look to do here. Normally, if you're looking to maintain that pension, we would look at your options to transfer that appropriately to something that is going to be more useful to you as a tax resident of France. So we'd remove that UK tie and transfer it accordingly. Quite a few people have asked about a 7.5% tax rate, and it's worth giving you a little bit of detail around that, but every situation is going to be individual. So if it becomes more personalised, we'd look to have that conversation with you one-on-one. But essentially, as some of you have highlighted, yes, there is a particular piece of tax legislation available in France. It's called prélèvement forfaitaire. Forgive my pronunciation. What that allows you to do, if you have a pension fund, if you withdraw that pension fund as one lump sum, then you will get a very preferential tax rate in France of 7.5%. Now, someone has asked, do they have to transfer their pension first? The answer is probably not. So if you're tax resident in France, you're living there, you've got a UK pension fund, you could cash that in and use that piece of legislation. There is a caveat there. What we have found over the months and years is that whilst most UK providers will, there are a handful of UK providers that are not able or happy to transfer, to pay you out a pension when you're France tax resident. They insist on you transferring it elsewhere. So in most circumstances, yes, you could cash in that UK fund. In some, you would have to transfer it first. Leading on from that, and this is a really important point, and I would urge everyone on the call, if they haven't done so already, to certainly look into it and try and establish it. Someone has asked, how can I avoid doing that and paying emergency tax in the UK and then have to claim that back to do what I want to do in France? So what you need to establish, what you need to obtain is what's called an NT tax code from UK HMRC. There are a couple of HMRC forms that you can use to do that. And we can give you the details around those, but it's about securing that NT tax code, because having that in place, it means that anything that is paid out from the UK fundamentally is paid gross to you in France. So that's how you would avoid doing it. A few other queries. Bear with me if I go quiet for a few seconds in between while I just latch on to a few different questions. A couple of queries around this one. Michelle has asked, evening Michelle, where would you suggest investing the proceeds of a house sale in the UK in France? Quite an open question, but I'll give you a few pointers around how we might start looking into that. I guess fundamentally, first and foremost, the term that you're looking to invest for is very important, because that will dictate the options that are available. A lot of you on call this evening are already established in France, so no doubt you will have heard of the Assurance V. It is a very popular, very tax efficient investment arrangement in France. So for money where a client can take a medium term view, normally 5 years plus, we would look at the Assurance V as being a very tax efficient option, which is useful not just while it's growing, it's useful for inheritance tax purposes in France also. You can have a wide range of investments within it, and you can really nurture your wealth. So if you've got a medium term time frame, then an Assurance V is a really good starting point, and we would select the most appropriate provider for the individual. Someone leading on from that, someone else has asked, what would you suggest instead of an Assurance V? There are other investment options, other investment platforms. I would struggle a little bit to see why you would move away from the Assurance V as an option, given its very specific tax advantages in France, because other arrangements aren't going to have that same tax efficiency. But without knowing the reasons behind that question, it's difficult to give you a bit more of a fuller insight into that. Couple more on here with a few common themes. So someone on here has asked, does their QROPS or should it be declared as an Assurance V in France? I think the simple answer is no. They're two separate and different financial planning solutions. A QROPS is a dedicated pension arrangement, and an Assurance V is a France tax compliant investment arrangement. Worth noting, actually, for those of you already tax resident in France, those of you looking to move to France, you've perhaps seen and read a lot about QROPS. And actually, since the last UK budget, we would only be considering a QROPS for a client in very specific circumstances, because unless your circumstances are very specific, you would be looking at paying a 25% overseas tax charge by moving into a QROPS. And there are other pension solutions that we would look at where that would not be the case. So it's worth mentioning that. So a couple of quick follow-ups on the Assurance V points that I've just raised, a few here that have just come in the last few seconds. Would Assurance V allow a monthly income to be taken? Essentially, yes, it can do. You can do that. It's actually a regular withdrawal that you would be taking, but effectively, yes, it's a monthly credit to to the account of your choice, fundamentally. Mel has just followed up and said, regarding the Assurance V alternatives, I was after something that was not market linked. So Mel, it's worth mentioning, going back to what I've said about how we sort of nurture your wealth. I think it's important to not be scared of the markets, not be frightened of the markets, and have the trust that we would develop with you something that you were comfortable with. Because being market linked does not mean having 100% of your wealth in shares, even if you are quite a cautious investor. We can still establish a portfolio that will give you the potential to outperform the cash alternatives, keep you one step ahead of inflation, and comes with numerous tax benefits. So I think it would be about getting to know you individually, Mel, for someone in your situation. On that theme, Annabelle was asked, I've heard assurance fee can go down, you could lose your investment. It will move with the market, but as I say, there are different risk levels. So I don't want to get too hung up on risk, because it's about you as an individual, and we can work with you to establish something that's right for you, for your own financial plan. Dan Healy, yes, Dan, an assurance fee can be established jointly. If you do it on that basis, in the unfortunate event that one of you passes away, it would continue on in the name of the other person. Quite a few queries around some general sort of taxation points. So one gentleman has asked, with regard to their police pension, should that be disregarded in France for tax purposes? This comes onto a wider point that's worth just taking a moment to run through. So if you are France tax resident, or when you become France tax resident, France will have first port of call on your worldwide income. So you will be paying most of your taxes in France. There are a couple of exceptions to that, and a gentleman here asked, with regard to his police pension, should that be disregarded? It needs to go on the French tax return, but there are a few government-backed UK pensions where you would always pay the tax in the UK. So with your police pension, you will always pay the tax in the UK. It should be declared on your French tax return, but because of the double taxation agreement between France and the UK, you won't pay tax twice on the same money in different jurisdictions. So not disregarded. It needs to be popped on there, Simon, but you won't pay tax in both jurisdictions. A few quicker ones on here. William has asked, is there a yearly capital gains tax allowance in France on things other than property? No, William. Unlike the UK, there is not an annual allowance in France. You either elect to pay capital gains at a flat rate of 30%, or you can have the gain added to your other income and be taxed at the progressive rates in France. But there is not an annual allowance, I'm afraid. Let me just run through. So we've spoken about SIPs and taxation. UK private pensions, we've spoken about. The QROPS we've spoken about. There's quite a few questions around navigating inheritance tax in France. There is planning that we can establish, and as you saw in the video, in France there is a forced heirship model, and there are certain things that we can do to help navigate that. It would be usual to recommend having a valid will in both jurisdictions, so one in France and one in the UK. A distinction between the two countries, as you will probably know, in the UK, it is the estate that is taxed. In France, it is the beneficiary that is taxed. It's quite a complex area in the sense that there are different taxation rates on a tiered basis, and they are also different for the relationship of the beneficiary. But there are certain things that we can do, and there are certain allowances as well in terms of inheriting and gifting. An assurance V is tax efficient on death and does help with France succession planning. We can also look at relevant insurance, so something like a whole of life plan to cover some of the taxes that would be levied Complex area of financial planning, and it's very much down to individual circumstances. So if that is a concern that is on your radar, particularly, very worthwhile drilling down into your individual circumstances. Few others have come through on here. So Annabelle has asked, as a business, what are your charges and how much do customers need for you to help? So in terms of the latter, we are looking to provide financial advice to expat clients that are relocating to France and other relevant countries, although obviously specialising in France. We don't have a minimum gateway in terms of wealth or investment. It's about developing an individual financial plan, seeing if we're a good fit and seeing if we can help you. In terms of the charging structure, and I don't mean for this to be a grey answer, but we are remunerated through the personal financial plan that we develop with you and for you. So what I don't want to do is try and give you a broad brush answer to the charging structure. What I will say is that when we present that personal financial plan to you, all of the charging detail will be in that report in black and white, so that the client knows exactly what they are paying at outset and on an ongoing basis, for that mutually beneficial relationship. So hopefully that is some way helpful. A few others on here regarding capital. Someone's asked about, I can't find the question now, but I did read it earlier. Lots and lots of questions, which is brilliant. Someone's asked about selling a UK property after a period of time, and would they still pay capital gains? So this is one of the hang-ups of being tax resident in France and having a UK tie. So if you sell a property in the UK after you have become France tax resident, you will satisfy the capital gains tax in the UK. So you will pay that tax bill in the UK. There is not a period of time that you can hold it for before selling it where you would avoid capital gains. It's a personal thing, but if a client is going to be in France long term, we would look at the merits of selling that property probably sooner rather than later, to avoid the capital gain increasing and getting bigger over time, and look to do something more appropriate in France with the proceeds of that property sale. Someone has asked, Colin has asked, how is drawdown income from a SIP taxed in France? So fundamentally, Colin, it's on a base level, it's taxed in the same way as you would be in the UK. You receive that income in France, you would declare it, and you would be taxed at the progressive rates in France. It's worth mentioning, though, if you are in a married household or in a PAX relationship, the French equivalent of a civil partnership, you are taxed as a household. So to give you a quick example, if you're married, living in France as a household, one of you earns €50,000, one of you earns nothing, then you would be treated as earning €25,000 each individually. So that can, depending upon your specific circumstances, from that perspective, it can be more tax efficient living day to day in France rather than the UK because of that split of allowances and the progressive rates. Someone's asked, can we connect directly with Giuseppe? Elle Fleming has asked that. Yeah, no problem. So we will have all of your relevant information after the webinar this evening. Anyone who needs to discuss US-based queries specifically, Giuseppe will reach out to you after the event to chat that through. Is income from a rental property in the UK still taxed in the UK after I become resident in France for tax purposes? Yes, Mark, that is one of the exceptions to the worldwide income. You would still pay that tax in the UK. Ian, yes, that is correct. If you pay capital gains tax on a property, having sold a property in the UK, you will satisfy that capital gain in the UK. There may be some tax to pay in France, but crucially, and this is the crucial point, Ian, you will not be taxed twice on the same money. So effectively, if the French bill is bigger, then the UK element you've already paid will be offset. So you're not paying something you don't owe, and you're not being taxed twice. But that's essentially how that would work. Okay. Let's see if I can pick out a few others on here as we go through. We've spoken about that one. Right. Jane has asked about when buying a new property in France, is it a good idea to put it in the names of one's heirs? Jane, it's quite a wide-ranging answer, which I wouldn't want to get into the detail on the call here this evening. That can be a useful method in some family circumstances, but with the whole inheritance tax piece, as I said earlier, there are certain things that we can do and certain steps that we can take to decrease succession planning tax in France. You make provision to pay any tax in France. So it's one option, but not the only option. Drawdown we've spoken about. Right, we've spoken a little bit about fees. James has asked quite a specific question around the best and most tax efficient way living in France whilst running a limited company in the UK. So give you a real quick rundown on that, James, but quite a personalised area. So corporation tax on that company will always be paid in the UK. Any salary and dividends that you draw, you'd be taxed in France. So we would need to have a full look at how much you're drawing, because you may well want a different salary and dividend split in France to what you would do in the UK based on the taxation. Okay. Simon's asked, will you be answering questions direct with people after the event? Simon, not this evening. The presentation will come out to you directly, so you can watch that back. But we will be reaching out to people that have attended, and you'll have our credentials, so we can have a conversation. Simon. Nick has asked, clarify exposure of government pensions on social charges. If you have a UK government pension, that is always going to be taxed in the UK, and there's a number of them, and there is a list on HMRC. Then yes, you should be taxed in the UK, and there shouldn't be social charges on that income, Nick. Okay. Thomas has asked, we understand that Italy has a more favourable tax regime for expats than France. I think it's a really difficult question, Thomas, because we're not comparing apples with apples. Obviously, France is my area of expertise. I know a little bit about Italy, but across the range of taxes, income tax, capital gains tax, inheritance tax, wealth tax. It's about part of it's about finance, and part of it is about kind of your heart and where you would see yourself living. From my perspective, having worked in the French jurisdiction for a couple of years now, if things are organised in the right way, because of what can be done with UK pension funds, because of the assurance V, because of the ability to be taxed as a household rather than individual, one can organise their financial life and be very tax efficient in France. So hopefully that is a helpful answer. It's a fantastic jurisdiction to be in from the financial planning opportunities that it presents. Okay. Nick has heard that UK annuity pensions can benefit from lower income tax. Yes, Nick, there is a slight different tax regime, but again, it's not clear from what you said there is if your pension has already been annuitized, so it's already been paid as annuity, or it's a route that you were considering, or if it's still a pension fund. You've got a number of options there. An annuity is just one of those. Someone asked a little earlier about, I think, their wife applying for a visa and how long do they need to be in France. So I would suggest that you can apply before you go. France can be a little bureaucratic, and it's not necessarily easy to navigate. But I would suggest applying beforehand. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading a couple of quick questions that have. Right. Lynn has asked, if proceeds from UK property are still in a UK bank account, do we contact HMRC about paying capital gains tax on it in the UK? Yes, Lynn, I'm assuming from that, if it was your main residence and you sold it in the UK before relocating to France, then there won't be any capital gains tax in the UK. If you have sold a property having become France tax resident, yes, there may be a little bit, there may be some capital gains tax due. Jane has asked an interesting question about selling precious metals. They're currently in the UK. Is it better to sell them there and pay the tax there, or better to bring them to France and sell them here? Jane, if you are France tax resident, you will pay the tax in France regardless. So it's a fairly straightforward answer, I'm afraid. It's not a case of which jurisdiction would be better. You would pay the tax the tax in France. Okay, so we're getting on for 6 o'clock. I think I've been through the majority of the questions there, and I appreciate I won't have necessarily answered every single one, but hopefully there's lots of detail there. As I've said, we will be making the presentation available straight away to everyone that has attended, and we will be looking to speak with people on an individual basis, those that have attended this evening. It will also be made available on our YouTube channel as well. Hopefully that has been an informative and useful hour of your time this evening. Thank you very much for joining us, and myself and the rest of the France team here at Chase Buchanan. We look forward to meeting with a number of you individually on a more formal basis to see how we can help with your individual financial planning requirements in France, and looking to move to France. Thanks, guys. I've had a few thank yous coming through on the questions as well. Been a pleasure, and yeah, hope to connect with some of you going forward. Thanks very much. Signing off now. Bye now.